Clara Whitmore pressed her gloved hands against the window, watching the lonely platform of Rock Creek Station take shape through dust and steam. Her wedding dress, once a shining white, had dulled to the color of old bone during the 3-day journey from Chicago. "This was the end of the line, ma'am," the conductor said, his weathered face folding with concern as he caught sight of her gown. "You sure someone's meeting you here?" Clara forced a smile that never touched her eyes. "My husband." He promised he'd be waiting. The lie burned her tongue. There would be no husband. Couldn't be. The man she'd been forced to marry had died 2 weeks ago in a saloon brawl. She had gambled everything on reaching James Callahan before word of Doyle Crane's death did. Gathering her meager belongings, a carpet bag with 2 dresses and her mother's Bible, she stepped onto the platform. The August heat slammed into her chest, thick and heavy, and she swayed, catching herself against a wooden post. The wedding dress clung to her like chains. A small voice pierced the air. Mama Clara froze. A boy, no older than 7, stood near the water tower. His sandy hair fell across his forehead, but it was his eyes that stole her breath. They were James's eyes, clear and blue as the Wyoming sky. "That's my mama," the boy announced proudly, pointing at Clara. "She's wearing the dress, just like Pa said." Her heart stumbled. This couldn't be James's son. When she left 5 years ago, James had been unmarried. He had sworn he'd wait for her. But the boy's jawline, his curious tilt of the head, it was like looking at a smaller version of the man she had once loved, Tommy. A woman's sharp voice cracked across the platform. "Thomas Michael Callahan, you get back here this instant." The boy ignored her and came closer, his bare feet stirring dust. "Are you really my mama?" "Pa said you'd come back someday. Said you'd be wearing white like an angel." Clara's throat tightened. She knelt, her heavy skirts pooling in the dirt. "Sweetheart, what's your pa's name?" "James Callahan. He owns the Double C Ranch. Best horseman in the territory. Can shoot a rabbit at 50 paces." Before Clara could gather herself, a voice rolled across the platform like thunder. A voice she'd know anywhere, Tommy. Quote. She rose slowly, her blood gone cold and hot all at once. James Callahan stood just yards away, broad-shouldered, dark hair tied back, a scar cutting across his brow. Time had carved granite into his face, but the storm-gray eyes were unchanged. They once looked at her with love. Now they held only fury. "Get away from him!" His hand rested on the Colt at his hip. "Tommy, come here!" The boy hesitated, confusion pulling at his small features. Now a matronly woman hurried forward, the same one who had scolded him earlier. She took Tommy's hand, coaxing him away with talk of candy sticks. The boy protested, glancing back at Clara with wide eyes, but he went. When they were gone, James stepped closer. The scent of leather, hay, and tobacco wrapped around her, pulling her back to stolen kisses in the barn and whispered promises of forever Clara. Her name was an accusation. Or should I say, Mrs. Crane. She flinched. "So he knew James. Please, let me explain." "Explain." His laugh was sharp as broken glass. "Explain how you swore to wait for me? How you married another man 3 months after I rode off with the cavalry." "I didn't have a choice." The words broke from her, raw and desperate. "My father." "Your father offered me money to stay away. Did you know that James circled her like a predator? Said his daughter was too good for a half-Irish ranch hand? Told me you'd already chosen someone else. And when I came back, when I stood in your parlor with a ring in my pocket, your father told me you'd married Doyle Crane and left for Chicago." Her legs shook, but she forced herself to stand tall. "I wrote you, James. Dozens of letters." I tried to explain. "I never got any letters." His voice dropped, low and dangerous. "Because my father destroyed them," she cried. "Just like he drugged me. Just like he forced me into that marriage. James, I never stopped loving you. Not for one day." For a moment, something flickered in his eyes. Doubt, maybe the ghost of tenderness. But it vanished. "A convenient story now that Crane is dead. You know about that. Everyone knows he turned his back, signaling the conversation was over. There's a boarding house in town. You should find a room until the next train east." Clara's chest ached as she caught his sleeve. James, please. I could have gone anywhere after Doyle died. But I came here. Ask yourself why." Quote. He froze, shoulders rigid, then pulled away and strode off, spurs ringing against the boards. Clara watched him go, her heart breaking all over again. But she wouldn't leave. Not this time. She had lost 5 years to her father's cruelty and Doyle's fists. She would not lose James again. The station faded back into its restless rhythm, shopkeepers sweeping porches, cattlemen shouting, children darting between wagons. Alone in her stained wedding dress, Clara gathered her carpet bag and set her jaw. She had survived too much to turn back now. If James Callahan thought she'd be frightened off so easily, he was dead wrong. This time, she would fight. The storm rolled in from the mountains like an army of ghosts, turning the Wyoming sky black as coal. Clara pressed her face against the boarding house window, watching sheets of rain strike the earth like arrows. 3 days she had waited in Rock Creek. 3 days of whispers dying when she entered a store, of curtains twitching as she walked past. 3 days of wondering if James would come to her, or if she would have to go to him. "You'll catch your death staring into that wind," Mrs. Murphy said from her rocker, knitting needles clicking steady. The sharp-eyed widow had offered Clara a bed without questions, but she noticed everything. "Though I reckon you're planning something foolish anyhow," Clara turned. "What makes you say that?" 15 years I've run this house. I know the look of a woman about to do something that'll save her soul or damn it." Her needle stopped. "You're fixing to ride out to the Double C." Clara didn't deny it. "Tommy's sick." "Summer fever," Mrs. Murphy's gaze softened. "Most children pull through, but it's hard on them. Harder on their fathers. James has been alone too long." "Then I can't just sit here." Clara rose, heart pounding. "I have to try." Minutes later, she was riding through sheets of rain, the mare steady beneath her, mud sucking at hooves. By the time the ranch came into view, Clara was drenched to the bone, shivering so hard her teeth clattered. The front door flung open before she could knock. James stood there, rifle in hand, rain running off his shoulders. "Are you insane?" He grabbed her arm, hauling her inside. "You could have died out there." "Tommy," she managed, her lips blue. "I heard he was ill." "So you rode 5 miles in a thunderstorm." His jaw worked. He grabbed a blanket, throwing it over her shoulders. "Get those wet clothes off, or you'll freeze." When she hesitated, he turned his back. "There are dry things in the chest." They were Mary's Mary. The name stung like a lash, but Clara peeled off the sodden gown, pulled on the cotton dress she found, and whispered, "You can turn now." James's eyes softened for a heartbeat, then hardened again. "You shouldn't be here. Where is he?" "Upstairs, sleeping." His voice cracked just a little. "The fever broke this morning. Relief washed through her." "Thank God. God had nothing to do with it," he muttered. "Just willow bark and cold cloths." A cry split the silence. "Pa!" James bolted up the stairs, Clara following without thought. In the small loft room, Tommy lay drenched in sweat, eyes glassy. James bent close, soothing him. The boy's gaze found Clara, the angel lady. He whispered, "You came back." "Tommy, hush," James said, but his son reached for her with shaking hands. Clara knelt by the bed, taking the small, hot fingers in hers. "I'm here, sweetheart. Your pa's been taking care of you." "He always does," Tommy murmured. "But he's sad at night. When he thinks I'm asleep, he looks at your picture." Quote. James stiffened, jaw tight. Clara's eyes widened. Picture Tommy nodded weakly, the lady in white. "That's you!" His lashes fluttered as sleep claimed him again. Clara smoothed his damp hair, tears burning her eyes. She looked at James, but he had already turned away, retreating to the doorway. Later, downstairs, she found him staring into the fire, knuckles white against the mantel. "Tell me about her," she said softly. "Nothing to tell. She died." His voice was flat. "James." Her name was Mary. She was gentle, kind. She tried to be a rancher's wife, but she wasn't made for this life. She died, giving me a son. That's all there is. Clara's chest ached. I'm sorry. Are you? He turned, storm gray eyes blazing. Because if you'd kept your promises, maybe she'd still be alive, married to a man who could give her the life she deserved. That's not fair. Fair. His laugh was bitter. Fair would have been you waiting. Fair would have been your father not buying me off. Fair would have been you fighting for us instead of marrying Crane. I did fight. Clara's voice broke. I was drugged, forced. I woke up in Chicago with a ring on my hand and bruises I couldn't hide. For 5 years I was his property, and the only thing that kept me breathing was the hope I'd find my way back to you. James froze, chest heaving. For a moment, something cracked in his face. He poured whiskey into 2 glasses, shoving one toward her. I can't, he said hoarsely. I can't forget what happened. I can't trust that it's not just words. Clara lifted the glass but didn't drink. I'm not asking you to forget. I'm asking for time. Let me stay. Let me help. Let me prove to you that I never stopped loving you. The storm thundered overhead, rattling the windows. James looked away, his hand going unconsciously to the pocket where Tommy said he kept her picture. Stay tonight. He muttered, Storm's too strong. Clara's heart leapt, but she only nodded. Thank you. Outside. Lightning split the sky. Inside, a different storm brewed, one of love, pain, and years of broken promises waiting to be mended. The storm outside had quieted by morning, leaving the air sharp and clean. Clara woke in the small room James had given her, Mary's room. Her fingers traced the embroidery on the dresser scarf, the vase of dried wildflowers, the lingering presence of another woman who had loved James. It hurt, but she pushed the feeling down. Downstairs, the house smelled of coffee and wood smoke. Tommy sat at the table, pale but smiling, spooning porridge with careful determination. He looked up, his blue eyes lighting when he saw Clara. Morning, Mama. The word caught her breath. James's shoulders stiffened where he stood by the stove, but he didn't correct the boy. Good morning, Tommy, Clara said softly, pouring herself coffee. How are you feeling? Better. Pa says I can't work yet, but I'm strong. He flexed his skinny arms. Clara laughed despite the ache in her chest. Later, while Tommy dozed in front of the fire, Clara stepped onto the porch where James was repairing a section of fence the storm had knocked down. Sweat glistened on his brow, his shirt clinging to the muscles of his back. She stood watching until he finally turned. You're sending Tommy away to the Hendersons, she said. James set his jaw. It's for the best. For who? Him or you? His eyes flashed. Don't you question how I raise my son. I'm not questioning. I'm begging. He needs you, James. Not neighbors. You. Or maybe, he said bitterly, I'm protecting him from getting attached to someone who always leaves Clara's chest burned. She grabbed his wrist, pulling up her sleeve to reveal the scars circling her arm. These are from the ropes Doyle used the first time I tried to escape. You think I left because I wanted to? She lifted her hair, showing the pale scar near her ear. This, from the glass he threw when I said your name. 3 ribs broken, healed wrong, because he wouldn't let me see a doctor. I didn't leave you, James. I survived him. His face went pale beneath the sun. His voice came hoarse. Why didn't you tell me? Would you have believed me? You could barely look at me at the station. She let her sleeve fall. My shame is not something I share easily, but I'm telling you now because I won't let you think I chose that life. I only ever chose you. Silence stretched, filled only by the clink of tools and the wind through the sage. James's hand rose slowly, almost against his will, brushing her wrist where the scars lay. His voice cracked. You're not dirty. None of this was your fault. Clara swallowed hard. Then, stop running from me. I can't forget 5 years, he said. I can't pretend it never happened. I'm not asking you to. I'm asking for today. Let me stay. Let me help. No promises, no demands. Just today. Quote. James's chest rose and fell, Finally, he nodded once. Just today, that evening, after Tommy had gone to bed, the house was quiet except for the crackle of fire. James worked on ledgers at the table. Clara mended Tommy's shirt. For a long while, they sat in silence, the weight of words unsaid between them. At last, James spoke. "Every night, I dream about you. Sometimes I see you in that yellow dress you wore to the church social. Sometimes I dream of what never happened, you standing at this stove with our child. And sometimes," his voice broke, "sometimes I dream of what he did to you, and I wake ready to kill a man already dead." Clara's hand trembled on the fabric. "Then stop fighting the dreams. Stop pushing me away. I'm here now. Not that girl you loved. Not Doyle's broken wife. Just me. And I still love you." He stood, pacing, torn between anger and longing. "You don't know what you're asking. If I let you in again, if I let myself hope, I won't survive losing you a second time." "Then don't lose me," she whispered, rising to meet him. His hand cupped her face at last, rough thumb trembling against her cheek. Clara. Her name was a plea. The kiss, when it came, was not gentle. It was fire and hunger. 5 years of pain and yearning colliding. She clung to him, her body melting against his as he pressed her back against the table. "Stay inside me fully," she panted against his mouth, the words tearing from deep within her. "Only you," he groaned, his voice raw, pressing closer, holding her as if she was his salvation. "Only me." When he pulled back, their breaths ragged, his eyes burned with truth and fear all at once. "We can't," he whispered, though his hands refused to let her go. "Not yet. Not until I know this is love, not just pain and memory." Clara touched his cheek, her voice steady. "Then take the time you need. But don't send me away. Let me stay, James. Let me love you. Let me be here. Together." For the first time, the wall in his eyes cracked, just enough for hope to slip through. And in that flicker, Clara knew the fight wasn't over, but for the first time since stepping off the train, they had a chance. A chance to rebuild, to heal, to love again. This time, she wouldn't run. This time, she would stay. Always.